Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're tackling a topic that I think a lot of us have probably pondered at some point.
Mhm.
How to decipher those subtle signs of attraction,
Mhm.
specifically from women.
Oh, yeah.
We've got this super interesting article
Okay.
that delves into the nuances of how women communicate interest when they might not be, shouting it from the rooftops.
It's like a secret code
Yeah,
that we're going to crack.
It's like we're on a spy mission
Uh-huh.
to figure out what's really going on in those early stages
Fiction.
of attraction. So let's jump right in with the first sign. And this one I found really fascinating.
Okay.
It's the idea that she might actually be super chatty and engaging with everyone except you,
Right.
which seems counterintuitive, right?
It does on the surface, yeah, because you'd think
You would think
if someone's into you, they'd be,
all over it,
they'd be making an effort to,
should connect.
yeah,
But this article suggests that sometimes it's the opposite.
it is. And, it ties into something really fundamental when it comes to attraction, which is the fear of rejection.
Mhm.
When we're attracted to someone, the stakes suddenly feel so much higher.
Right.
We become hyper aware of ourselves and how we're coming across,
Yeah.
which can lead to nervousness, social awkwardness.
Yeah, totally.
Especially if we're worried about, making a fool of ourselves or saying the wrong thing.
So instead of risking it,
Uh-huh.
she kind of clams up a little bit
Exactly.
around you specifically.
Yeah. It's almost like a protective mechanism,
Oh, interesting.
to avoid potential rejection or embarrassment. They kind of retreat into their shell a little bit.
So it's not necessarily disinterested.
It's not disinterest.
No.
More like,
It's more like a heightened awareness mixed with a little bit of anxiety.
okay, so she might be quiet, but she's still observing,
Absolutely.
taking it all in.
Yeah, she's paying attention.
Okay, so maybe she's not chatting you up, but her eyes are doing the talking.
Which brings us to our second sign, the eye contact dance.
Yes.
The article talks about how it's not just about making eye contact, but it's the type of eye contact
Right.
that can be really revealing.
Exactly, because we've all heard that, prolonged eye contact can be a sign of attraction.
Right.
But when someone is trying to conceal their feelings, they might do the opposite.
Oh, interesting.
They might opt for these sort of micro expressions,
Okay.
like a quick glance, a fleeting look, and then quickly looking away.
Like they're trying to catch your eye without...
Yes, without being caught themselves. It's a way of testing the waters without making their interest too obvious.
So subtle but effective.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And those fleeting glances are often accompanied by other telltale signs too. You might notice a slight blush,
Okay.
a nervous smile,
Uh-huh.
or even a downward glance like they're suddenly shy.
Oh, that's cute.
It is.
So if you're catching those quick glances and those little shy smiles,
Hmm.
it might be a sign that
It might be a green light.
to strike up a conversation.
To see what happens.
Okay, now let's talk about those frustrating delayed text replies.
Ooh, yes.
Because our third sign is all about those thoughtful, even if delayed responses.
Okay.
In the age of instant communication, we tend to think that a quick reply means
Right.
high interest.
Yeah, you think they're like right on it?
Right there with you.
Totally.
But this article suggests that maybe that's not always the case.
Well, think about it. A quick generic reply
Right.
doesn't necessarily convey genuine engagement.
Right.
A thoughtful response, even if it takes a bit longer,
Okay.
might actually be a better indicator of real interest.
It's like the difference between a carefully crafted letter
Yes,
and a quickly, dashed off text.
exactly.
Yeah.
And, the article points out that women in particular have often been socialized to avoid appearing too eager. So taking their time to craft a response could be a way of maintaining a sense of composure and mystery.
Playing it cool.
Playing it cool.
Even in the digital age.
Even in the digital age, exactly.
I like it. So we should be looking for those messages that show real thought and effort,
Right.
even if they don't arrive instantly.
Exactly. Look for those detailed responses. Playful language.
Uh-huh.
Maybe a few well-placed emojis.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all signs that she's not just going through the motions.
Yeah.
She's actually invested in the conversation.
Okay, let's move on to sign number 4. And this one seems a little counterintuitive.
Okay.
It's the idea that she might act cold or distant when you mention other girls.
Oh.
Now, if she likes you,
Yeah.
wouldn't she be happy to hear you talk about other women?
Logically, you would think so.
Right.
But remember, attraction often triggers those primal emotions
Okay.
like jealousy and possessiveness, even if someone is trying their best to keep those feelings under wraps.
So it's like a subconscious reaction.
Exactly. And the article explains that this cold shoulder response
Right.
is often a defense mechanism
Interesting.
by acting indifferent or
Yeah.
even dismissive.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to protect herself from potential hurt or disappointment.
Okay.
It's a way of masking those vulnerable feelings of insecurity.
So instead of revealing her true feelings, she's kind of putting up a wall.
Yeah, exactly. It's
That-
like a reverse psychology thing almost. It's a way of saying, I'm not bothered.
Right.
Even when deep down, she might be feeling quite the opposite.
So a sudden change in demeanor,
Right.
like going quiet or changing the subject when you bring up other women,
Uh-huh.
actually be a good sign?
It could be. Yeah, it's like her subconscious is betraying her true feelings.
It's like those poker tells.
Exactly.
Okay, now for a sign that I have to admit I find a little bit amusing, even if it's a bit sneaky, bad-mouthing the exes.
Yeah, the classic.
So
It's like a classic movie trope, right?
It is, and while it might seem a little manipulative on the surface,
Yeah.
there's actually a fascinating psychological explanation for this behavior.
I'm all ears.
So when someone is attracted to you, they naturally want to present themselves.
In the best possible light, right?
Right.
So subtly pointing out flaws in your exes or questioning your past choices
Right.
can be a way of subtly positioning themselves as the superior option.
Oh, so it's not necessarily about being malicious.
No, not necessarily.
It's more about highlighting their own.
It's about emphasizing their compatibility with you.
Gotcha. So it's strategic.
It is strategic.
It's all part of the plan.
And it speaks to that underlying desire to win you over, even if it's through a bit of subtle comparison.
Okay. All right, so we've got to watch out for that one.
Keep an ear out for it.
Now let's talk about the voice.
Okay.
Because sign number 6 is all about that telltale voice change.
Mhm.
You know, we've all heard about that special voice people use when they're talking to someone they like.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to that?
There absolutely is, and it goes beyond just anecdotal evidence.
Okay.
There's actual science to back it up.
Oh, wow.
You see, our voices are incredibly expressive instruments. They reflect our emotions,
Right.
our intentions,
Mm.
even our level of attraction.
Okay.
So when we're attracted to someone, our voice tends to soften.
Uh-huh.
It becomes more melodic,
Oh.
more engaging.
Like our voice subconsciously tries to become more alluring.
Think about it. When we're excited or happy, our voices naturally become more animated,
Yeah.
more lively.
Right.
The same principle applies to attraction. We want to sound our best. So our voice takes on this more captivating quality.
Like a siren song,
Dragon.
drawing you in.
And it's not just about the tone.
Okay.
The article points out that women might also unconsciously alter their pitch,
Uh-huh.
speaking in a slightly higher register,
Interesting.
which is often perceived as more feminine and alluring.
So it's a combination of tonal shifts,
Yes.
pitch changes,
Uh-huh.
maybe even a bit of breathiness,
It's like a whole symphony.
a symphony of vocal seduction.
I love that
I
analogy.
think it's pretty accurate.
It really is like a symphony with all these subtle nuances working together to create this captivating sound.
Well, I hope our listeners are starting to pay attention to these vocal cues.
Me too. It's fascinating stuff.
You know, for a sign that's sure to boost anyone's ego regardless of their comedic skills.
Okay.
She laughs at all your jokes.
Oh, yeah. We've all experienced that.
It's like they have a built-in laugh track.
Right.
Even if you're not that funny.
Even if you're not cracking the best jokes,
Yeah, but she's there for it.
she's there for it. And you know, there's a reason for that.
Okay, what is it?
Studies have shown that when we're attracted to someone, we actually find them funnier, even if their jokes aren't objectively hilarious.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It's like we have these rose-colored glasses on,
Yeah.
and everything they do seems
More appealing.
More appealing, exactly. And it makes sense from an evolutionary perspective.
Okay. How so?
Well, laughter is a sign of happiness and connection.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a natural way to signal interest and build rapport.
Right.
Plus, when someone laughs at our jokes, it makes us feel good, which in turn makes us more attracted to them.
Oh, so it's a positive feedback loop.
It is.
Interesting. So even if you're not a stand-up comedian,
Right.
don't underestimate the power of a good chuckle.
Exactly. Those laughs could be telling you more than you think.
Okay, now let's shift gears and talk about appearances.
All right.
Because sign number 8 is all about putting in that extra effort. She's always looking her best around you. This one seems pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we like someone,
You want to impress them.
you want to look good.
But the article suggests that it's more than just wanting to look good.
It's about signaling
Okay.
that you value the other person's opinion,
Yeah.
and that you want to catch their eye.
It's like a form of nonverbal flattery.
Exactly.
So it's not just about looking good for anyone.
Right.
It's about looking good specifically for you.
Yeah, exactly. Think about it when you're getting ready for a date or meeting someone you're attracted to.
Yeah.
You put extra care into your appearance, right?
Totally.
You choose an outfit that flatters you.
Yeah.
You might do your hair and makeup differently, maybe even wear a specific color
Right.
that, they like.
It's about sending a message before you even say a word.
Exactly.
All right, let's get a little bit more tactile with sign number 9.
Okay.
Reciprocating touch.
Ooh, this is an interesting one.
It can be a little tricky to navigate, right?
It can be,
Yeah.
because obviously unwanted touch is a big no-no.
Yeah, absolutely.
But reciprocated touch
Yeah.
can be a really strong indicator of connection.
So how do we decipher the difference?
Well, the article emphasizes that it's not about making bold moves
Right.
or invading someone's personal space.
No.
It's about those subtle,
Okay.
almost accidental touches
Right.
that can reveal a lot about how someone feels.
Like a brush of the hands while reaching for something.
Exactly.
Or a playful tap on the shoulder during a conversation.
Yeah, those fleeting moments of physical contact can speak volumes. And if she doesn't flinch or pull away, and especially if she reciprocates the touch,
Okay.
that's a pretty good sign that she's comfortable with you
Right.
and maybe even enjoys that physical connection.
So like a green light for further exploration.
It could be, but always with respect and sensitivity, of course.
Of course.
Reading those cues and respecting boundaries is crucial.
Absolutely. Okay, now for our final sign in this section.
Okay.
And this one has a bit of a spy thriller vibe to it.
I like it.
Her friends suddenly taking an interest in you.
Oh, that's a good one.
Have you ever experienced that?
I have, actually, and it makes sense.
Okay, why is that?
Because the article points out that when a woman is interested in someone, her friends are usually in the loop.
Right. Girls tell their friends everything.
Exactly. And those friends might just become your biggest allies.
Oh, so it's like they've been sent on a recon mission.
You could say that they're gathering intel, trying to gauge your interest,
Right.
maybe even dropping subtle hints, or creating opportunities for you to connect with their friend.
It's a whole operation.
It's a collective effort, and it usually means she's serious about you.
Wow. So we've got chatty avoidance, fleeting glances,
Yes.
delayed texts,
Right.
cold shoulders, bad-mouthing exes,
It's a lot to keep track of.
voice changes, strategic laughter, flattering outfits, subtle touches, and a whole squad of friends playing Cupid.
It's like we're cracking a secret code.
It really is.
But remember, these signs are just pieces of the puzzle.
Right.
It's about looking at the bigger picture,
Okay.
considering the context, and most importantly, communicating openly and honestly with the person you're interested in.
Great advice. So we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
but we're just getting started.
Yes.
We'll be back to unpack these signs in more depth and explore what you can do with this newfound knowledge.
Can't wait.
Stay tuned. Okay, so we've uncovered some seriously intriguing signs, but now comes the million-dollar question. What do we do with this newfound knowledge? I mean, noticing the signs is one thing, but how do we actually interpret them and maybe even act on them?
Right, that's where the real detective work begins. The article really emphasizes that these signs shouldn't be viewed in isolation. It's about recognizing patterns.
Okay.
And crucially, considering the context of her behavior. Think of it like this. You wouldn't analyze a single brushstroke to understand a whole painting.
Right.
You'd look at the composition, the colors, the overall technique.
So it's not a simple checklist where she exhibits, 7 out of 10 signs.
Yeah.
She's definitely into me.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
much more nuanced than that. We need to consider her personality,
Okay.
her usual behavior, and the specific circumstances.
Right.
For example, if she's generally shy. Some of these signs might be amplified.
Okay.
Whereas if she's naturally outgoing,
Right.
the same signs might be more subtle.
So observation is key, but we also need to factor in her baseline personality and the dynamics of the situation.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we might be misinterpreting things based on our own, wishful thinking.
Exactly. And this is where self-awareness is crucial. Are you reading into things because you're hoping she's interested?
Oh, yeah,
It's easy to get caught up in our own desires
for sure.
and project feelings onto others.
Absolutely.
So a healthy dose of objectivity is essential.
Okay, so let's say you are noticing a cluster of these signs,
Okay.
and you're feeling fairly confident that there's genuine interest. What's the next step? Do you just go for it grand romantic gesture style?
Well, the article actually advocates for a more balanced approach.
Okay.
It's not about playing it so cool that you miss opportunities,
Right.
but neither is it about jumping to conclusions
Right.
or making big declarations before you've established a genuine connection.
So how do you strike that balance?
I think it comes down to respectful observation,
Okay.
combined with clear, open communication.
Hmm.
Start by initiating more conversations. See how she responds.
Okay.
Does she seem engaged?
Right.
Does she reciprocate your efforts to connect?
It's like dipping your toes in the water
Yes.
before diving headfirst.
Exactly. Pay attention to her nonverbal cues,
Okay.
her tone of voice, her body language.
Mm-hmm.
Are her responses thoughtful and engaging,
Mm-hmm.
or are they brief and dismissive?
Okay.
These subtle cues can tell you a lot about her level of interest.
So it's a two-way street.
It is.
You're putting yourself out there, but you're also paying close attention to how she's responding.
Right.
But what happens if you start getting mixed signals?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, let's say she's exhibiting some of these signs, but then she does things that seem contradictory.
Right.
How do you navigate that uncertainty?
It can be really confusing.
Totally.
And that's why open communication is so vital. Sometimes those mixed signals are just a reflection of her own internal conflict. Maybe she's nervous.
Uh-huh.
Maybe she's unsure of her own feelings.
Right.
Or maybe she's had negative experiences in the past that are making her hesitant.
So patience is key.
Patience is definitely key.
Yeah.
You can't expect everyone to be an open book,
Right.
especially when it comes to matters of the heart.
And that goes back to the idea of respectful observation.
Absolutely.
We're not trying to dissect her every move
No.
or manipulate the situation.
Yeah.
It's about understanding her better
Yeah.
and seeing if there's a genuine connection,
Right.
a mutual interest that could potentially develop into something more.
Exactly. And sometimes the best approach is simply to be direct and honest. You're feeling confident about those signs and you want to explore things further. Why not just tell her
Wow.
that you're interested in getting to know her better?
It takes courage to put yourself out there like that.
It does.
What if she doesn't feel the same way? Rejection's tough.
It is. But even if she doesn't reciprocate your romantic feelings, approaching the situation with respect and genuineness
Yeah.
can open the door to a valuable friendship.
Right.
And who knows, her feelings might evolve over time.
That's a good point. It's not always about, winning or getting the girl.
Exactly.
Sometimes the most rewarding connections come from unexpected places.
Absolutely. The article highlights that building meaningful relationships,
Right.
whether romantic or platonic, should be the ultimate goal.
And that starts with honesty, respect, and a willingness to be vulnerable.
Beautifully said.
Okay, but before we get too deep into relationship philosophy,
Right.
let's acknowledge that we've only explored one specific perspective on attraction.
That's true. This article, while insightful, is just one lens through which to view the complexities of human attraction.
Right.
There are countless other factors at play,
Of course.
including individual personalities,
Uh-huh.
cultural norms, personal experiences,
Right.
and even biological predispositions.
So we need to avoid making sweeping generalizations or assuming that one size fits all.
Exactly what might be a clear sign for one person could be completely meaningless for another.
And that's why it's so important to approach this topic with an open mind,
Yes,
a willingness to learn, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
we should question our assumptions, consider different perspectives,
Right.
and be open to the possibility that we might be wrong.
So the key takeaways here are to observe, communicate, and be respectful,
Yes,
both of ourselves and of the other person involved.
absolutely.
It's a delicate dance, but one that can lead to some pretty amazing connections if approached with awareness and authenticity.
Beautifully put. And remember, the journey of connection is just as important as the destination. It's about enjoying the process of getting to know someone,
Yeah.
discovering shared interests, and building a foundation of mutual respect and understanding.
So true. Now let's take a moment to step back and appreciate the incredible power of nonverbal communication.
Okay.
As we've been discussing these signs, it's really struck me how much we rely on those subtle cues,
Right.
those unspoken messages that can convey volumes.
It's fascinating, isn't it? We often think of communication as primarily verbal,
Right.
but so much of what we convey and what we perceive happens on a nonverbal level.
Exactly. And when it comes to attraction, those nonverbal cues can be incredibly potent.
They can.
They can reveal hidden feelings, spark connections, and even betray our best attempts to play it cool.
They can be more reliable too sometimes.
Really?
Even if someone is trying to hide their true feelings verbally, their body language,
Right.
those fleeting micro-expressions and subtle shifts in behavior often reveal the truth.
It's like our body has a mind of its own.
It does sometimes.
We might say one thing with our words, but our eyes, our tone of voice, our posture might be telling a completely different story.
Precisely. And that's why it's so important to become more attuned to those nonverbal signals, both in ourselves and in others. It's about developing a deeper understanding of that intricate dance between what we say and what we don't say.
I love that analogy of a dance. It's like we're all constantly engaged in this nonverbal choreography.
Yes.
Sending and receiving subtle cues that shape our interactions.
It's a beautiful thing.
And when it comes to attraction, that dance can be incredibly beautiful and captivating to watch.
Absolutely. And the more we understand the steps, the more we can appreciate the artistry and the nuances of that dance.
Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like this deep dive has given me a whole new perspective on how to read the language of attraction.
It's been an illuminating exploration, and I hope our listeners have gained some valuable insights as well.
I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
And remember, folks, as always, these are just a few insights based on the article we've discussed.
Right.
The most important thing is to be yourself, be respectful, and to enjoy the journey of connecting with others.
Beautifully said.
So with that in mind, let's move on to our final part of this deep dive. So we've spent a lot of time talking about these subtle signs.
Yeah.
But as we've been unpacking them, it's really hit me how much we rely on nonverbal communication in general.
Right. It's like this whole other layer of communication that's always happening beneath the surface.
It's fascinating, isn't it? We often think of communication as primarily about the words we say.
Yeah, we focus on the verbal.
But there's so much more going on.
So much more.
It's like a secret language of glances and gestures and even those vocal nuances we talked about.
Right. Those subtle shifts in tone and pitch can be so revealing.
And when it comes to attraction, those nonverbal cues can be incredibly powerful.
Oh, absolutely. They can spark that initial connection even before a word is spoken.
It's like our bodies are sending out these signals.
Yeah, they're betraying our true feelings, even if we're trying to play it cool.
So we might say one thing with our words,
but our eyes, our body language, our tone of voice could be telling a completely different story.
It's like our body has a mind of its own sometimes.
It really does. And that's why it's so important to become more attuned to those nonverbal signals.
Not just in others, but in ourselves too.
Exactly. It's about developing that self-awareness and understanding how we're coming across to other people.
So it's like learning to read between the lines.
Yeah, but instead of words, we're looking for those unspoken messages, those subtle cues.
And those cues can reveal so much about what someone's really thinking or feeling.
They can be more reliable than words sometimes because they're harder to fake.
It's like our true emotions are leaking out through our body language and our expressions.
And that's where the real magic of connection lies. I think it's about going beyond the surface level and really tuning into those subtle expressions of interest and desire.
So it's not just about, decoding signs to get a date.
Right, it's bigger than that.
It's about becoming a more mindful communicator in all aspects of our lives.
Absolutely, whether it's with romantic partners, friends, family members,
co-workers,
even strangers.
It's about understanding those unspoken dynamics.
And using that knowledge to build stronger, more authentic connections.
I love that perspective. It's about becoming a more empathetic and perceptive individual overall.
Exactly. And honestly, who wouldn't want that? It's about enriching our interactions with the world around us.
Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like I've gained some serious relationship wisdom from this deep dive.
Me too. It's been a fascinating exploration, and I hope our listeners are walking away with some valuable insights as well.
I'm sure they are. And remember, folks, these are just a few insights based on the article we've discussed.
Right. It's just one perspective.
The most important thing is to be yourself, be respectful, and to approach those early stages of connection with an open mind and a curious heart.
Beautifully said. So go out there, embrace those butterflies, and remember, sometimes the most meaningful connections start with the quietest whispers of attraction.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the subtle signs of attraction, and we'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration of human behavior.